And in the bottom, you'll see how to advance the slides.
Okay, am I advancing those then?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, welcome everyone. My name is Carmen Mazzara. I serve as the Executive Director of the Association of Professional Schools of International Affairs, or APSIA, as we call it, given the length of that name. I am so glad to have all of you join us for a special webinar aimed at student advisors. This is part of a series of events that we do for advisors and serves as a complement to all of the student-facing webinars and in-person activities we do, and as a complement to all of the resources that we provide and information that we have, particularly on our website, apsia.org. I'm happy to talk more about the kinds of opportunities that APSIA provides for you and for your students, but the main focus of today's discussion is the Public Policy and International Affairs Fellowship Program. I'm delighted to be joined live from Minnesota. My colleague Simone Bolo, who serves as the Executive Director of PPIA. And Simone will walk you through a variety of pieces of information about the program and opportunities that the program provides. And then at the end, we'll be able to take everyone's questions. However, if you have questions as we go, please feel free to type them in that chat box that you see on the right-hand side of your screen and that so many of you have already utilized so well to let us know you can hear us. Hopefully that is still the case. And so with that, I am delighted to turn the floor over to Simone.
Thank you, Carmen, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited that you all decided to join us this afternoon to learn more about the Public Policy International Affairs Fellowship Program. So my hope here is to give you an overview of our fellowship program and information that we share with students as well when we do presentations. Currently, there's a number of our alumni all over the country out doing the same presentations on campuses that they're affiliated with or attending. And so you're seeing a lot of you'll be seeing pretty much the same information that they're seeing. And as Carmen mentioned, feel free to ask questions as we go along and join in on this conversation. But my purpose is to talk about the fellowship program and to walk you through our application process, and of course answer questions at the end. So who we are an alumni base of about 4,000 in terms of students that have gone through our program. And our mission is to promote the inclusion and full participation of traditionally underrepresented students in public service. And not only to promote them, but to also help these students navigate their education in advanced ways that will lead them into top leadership roles, serving both domestic and international affairs. And we are one of the largest diversity initiatives in the United States focused on careers and advanced degrees in public service. We have a growing consortium of graduate schools that are all policy schools or schools of international affairs. And our program really focuses on career exposure and creating a clear path towards a career in public service. So students getting involved with us in a number of ways. And so our primary goal is to get students to those advanced degrees. We mainly at the master's level, but we have many students that aspire to doctoral levels as well. We do that primarily through our Junior Summer Institutes, and that is our 7-week intensive, rigorous preparation for graduate school program. We have a number of partnerships across the country, APSIA being one of our institutional partner, and a number of graduate schools that are part of our graduate school consortium that are also working actively to recruit students and attract them to their programs. And then our alumni network is also a great resource for fellows who finish our program and become alumni, because now that we've been around for a number of years and have alumni or have students have gone through our program, we have an alumni base that are doing a variety of have a variety of careers and serving a variety of institutions all over the country and world. And so that is a network that alumni can tap into as they progress in our program and as they become more involved as an alumni. So each year we open up, as you are on the call to learn more about, our Junior Summer Institute Fellowship Program. And essentially it is a preparation. We like to look at it in some cases a boot camp for students who show potential and who are willing to spend their summer in an intensive preparation right before their senior year. And students are in graduate level courses during this time over those 7 weeks. And we have 5 sites currently: Gerald School, Ford School of Public Policy at the University of Michigan, the Goldman School at UC Berkeley, the Heinz College at Carnegie Mellon University, the Humphrey School of Public Affairs at the University of Minnesota, and the Wilson School at Princeton University. And so all these programs at the core are very similar in terms of the types of courses they are offering students over the summer. They may have different experiential activities, site visits, guest speakers as it pertains to their institutions as the students progress through the summers. But the core of the programs essentially are very similar, where students are enrolled in similar courses. They are taking a policy analysis course. They're enrolled in a stats course. Our Princeton program offers 2 levels of the stats course. So if students are advanced, that's maybe a program that they want to consider. And then students are also taking an econ course. So they're essentially all of the Junior Summer Institutes are enrolled in those types of courses. The co-curriculars that they're involved in will differ by institutions. So PPIA as a national network, we are our 5 JSI hosts. We have put on an expo in DC every summer that we invite interns who are in the DC area, those who live in the DC area, and bring down 2 cohorts from Carnegie Mellon and Princeton to participate in that expo, which is both a graduate school fair and an internship fellowship fair. As I mentioned, we have graduate school consortium members. Right now, we are over 50 plus of those schools that are part of our membership. And currently, we have 5 alumni chapters that work to connect our over 4,000 alumni across the country. We have a Southern California chapter, a Chicagoland chapter, a DC chapter, a New York chapter, and then we have a Northern and a Southern California chapter. So there's many benefits to our program. As I mentioned, students are engaged in graduate level coursework over the summer. So it's really what they would be experiencing during their first year of policy school. They're also doing a number of visits at the local level, state and federal levels, and with local organizations that are all focused around public service. They will also have lectures that are put on by faculty at these institutions that are around research interests that align with many of the students' interests, or things that are kind of should be on the students' radar in terms of up and coming topics. Students also will receive GRE test prep in some form, and that is typically determined by institutions. In some cases, some institutions go with like a Kaplan product. Some use a product that's based at their institution, but there will be some sort of GRE test prep resource as a result of being selected into our fellowship. Many of the programs also do some sort of summer research-based project that is supposed to, I like to call it a mini capstone. It's supposed to mirror the capstone that many policy students do at during their second year. So they get a preview of what is it like to take on a project based on their interests, work with others in order to present and talk about the issues facing whatever topic that they choose to discuss and do research on. All the programs give some sort of final coursework transcript and assessment. Carnegie Mellon is the only one who actually gives out an actual grade transcription, But in all of the cases, the programs give some sort of report of how the students perform over the summer and what they were engaged with. The program is free, so there's no cost to the students. Our program covers the transportation to get students to the campus, provides a stipend of up to $1,500, and covers room and board for all participants as well. And all of the co-curriculars, if there's any other type of travel that's a part of the program, is also covered by the program. So in terms of the criteria for students to be in the program is that they have to be able to commit to the 7 weeks and from start to finish. Each program takes a different number of students. Our larger programs are at Princeton and Berkeley, and now at Carnegie Mellon, they're going to take up to 30 students. Carnegie Mellon has recently added a data analytics track. So if you have students that are interested in how policy and data analytics intersect, that may be a great program for them. And then at University of Michigan and Minnesota, they will take 20 students. Students must be at the junior level with at least a semester left after they complete the program. And they must meet legal state requirements, and we do accept DACA students and international students into our application process. 2 institutions will admit to international students, Princeton and Carnegie Mellon. The rest of the programs do not accept international students. So that's something to be mindful of if you're advising international students in terms of how to rank the Junior Summer Institute host sites. And all majors are welcome to apply. So what are we looking for? Each program has their own admissions process, so to speak, but this list of criteria is essentially what all the programs are focusing on as they review applications, that students show strong academic potential. We don't have a minimal GPA requirement. We are more so interested in the journey of the students' academics. So if they've struggled, if they haven't taken as many quant focused courses, that is okay. We're looking at the whole academic journey. We are looking for a demonstration of commitment to public service, and that is mainly seen through their experiences. It could be through employment, it could be through the types of courses they're taking, or things they're committed to outside of their academics. Particularly those issues affecting underrepresented communities. We're looking for strong letters of recommendation. We treat this as a professional document. What I often tell students when I'm advising them as they're applying is that they want to make sure that their essays and their responses to our prompts are well written and make sense to their narrative of why they would like to be in this program and what they will contribute. And then we're looking that they have substantial experience, whether it's leadership or volunteerism or working in these areas that are in public service. And then we are looking at what their economic need is. And so that is another factor that's taking into consideration is students would benefit from this program because they may not have access to something like this based on their economic need. So application requirements, we ask for 2 letters of recommendation, and we're looking for 2 different types of letters. We require an academic letter, so a letter that speaks to a student's progress academically, and then to their commitment to public service. And that can be from a supervisor or a volunteer manager or someone who's working with them, but someone who can really speak to their demonstrated commitment to public service. We ask students to write statements about their employment and volunteer history. And we have a number of essays, and it depends on the programs. We have 4 essays required for all applicants that focus on their goals and their aspired contributions to the program, and then what they hope to gain as a result of participating in our Junior Summer Institutes and their experience with diverse communities. Our UC Berkeley program has a law track, and so 20 of their fellows are just general policy fellows. 10 of those fellows are participating in a law module because they're considering doing a degree in policy and law, or a joint degree is what that's typically referred to. And so they're asked an additional question about why law and why they're considering a joint degree. CMU has also added a new prompt that requires the applicant to talk about their interests in data analytics and policy, so making connections between why those two are important to them and how they see themselves contributing to the field. We ask for a resume, unofficial transcripts for all colleges that they've attended, and then we ask for financial information as well. So we are looking for their SAR, which is what they receive from their financial aid application from their institution, and an award letter, or we will take their parents' or guardians' tax information that they can upload with the private information blackout. So we're not trying to collect private information, just information on the financial pieces of their parents. So I may have mentioned this already, but in terms of our JSI selection process and how we notify our applicants, is that each host has their own unique selection process. And so one of the things that you may want to advise your students is, as they're ranking the programs through the application process, they may want to take some time to do a little bit of research on the policy programs at those schools. They should have that in mind in the ranking, but also have that in mind as they're talking about why they're applying to the program. Because each school will be looking at that in regards to their mission and their programs that they have, and how that student would logistically fit. So the students will rank in the application what schools that they are considering. I strongly recommend that you encourage students to rank all schools and not just rank the ones that they really see themselves at, because essentially they're coming out prepared to handle their first year and handle graduate school, any of the programs that are offered. And so it's more about that outcome versus just ranking a few schools because that's where you think you want to be, but it's more so ranking because this is a meaningful experience to them. If they're accepted, they'll only be offered one JSI admission, and they will have the ability to edit their application up to the deadline of November 1st. We receive on average about 600 applications a year for about 120 slots. And so that number's gone up this year with the additional 10 from Carnegie Mellon, so it'll be 130 slots, hopefully, that we have to offer. Our application is currently open, so students have been and are entering our application system every day. We strongly encourage our applicants to submit their applications early so that if you're running into any issues with our system, they can let us know in advance. We have a new system this year, which I'm excited about. And so catching those issues early, if there's any, hopefully there isn't many. We haven't had any yet as of today. But again, just getting those applications in, just because there's so many components to it, and trying to do that in a mindful way in terms of time. And then we make our admissions decisions known in early February. And so the admissions committees go through their selection process this winter, and then we will notify students early February on their decisions. So in terms of students, once they have completed our fellowship, there's a number of benefits as alumni. So they have access to our 50+ graduate school consortium. These schools are also actively recruiting these students and encouraging them to consider their programs as they are making decisions about graduate school. All of these schools have agreed to waive application fees. So any of those one of 50 or many of 50 that students decide to apply to, they will not have an application fee. And each of those schools have agreed and guaranteed at a minimum a one-time financial aid award of $5,000. Most of our programs, however, are able to award up and above that $5,000 that's the minimum. We do have small programs in our consortium, and so depending on the institution and their resources, we see a variety of awards that students see as they're applying and getting admitted to grad school and making decisions around graduate school. We also have some short-term opportunities that you all may be familiar with if you're on our listserv or get emails through some of our other partnerships that we have. We've, for the last 4 years, given our graduate school consortium members the opportunity to host public service weekends, which are supposed to give students introduction to the broad range of opportunities available in public service. And so during those 3-day conferences, students would engage with panels, interactive workshops, keynote speakers, and an opportunity to network with current students at those institutions and network with each other, which I've seen as being kind of really, really valuable opportunity for them, because essentially they're attending these conferences with like-minded individuals that are passionate around a lot of the same issues that they're passionate around. And so it's a really affirming space for a lot of students that participate. This fall, we have 3 conferences. The applications have all closed for 2 of these. Our GPS, University of San Diego GPS school has kept theirs open till the end of this week. So if you have students that may be interested in that conference, that application is still open. But this is something we've been doing for the last 4 years and will continue to do. And so that's something to look out for the next year of who our conference hosts will be and what they will focus on. So if you have other questions, we'll have some time for that today, but as another resource to you, our website has a lot of information. We have a pretty extensive FAQ section for the Junior Summer Institute. And then if you need to email any questions, you can email us at the email that's listed on the last slide here. And then feel free to also follow us on our social media handles. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And those are all places that we announce things that we have upcoming, our public service weekends, and reminding folks about application deadlines as well.
Thanks, Simone. I'd also highlight that on the website there are a number of great alumni stories for those of you looking to help show students what's possible in the broadest definition of public service careers. So with that, we have the opportunity to turn to your questions. And aside from chants and cheers for the University of Michigan, from the Michigan in DC program, Simone, we have a question from Jennifer, who asks, to clarify about junior status specifically, if a student is on a leave of absence but will graduate in May 2020, are they eligible to apply?
So in that case, there is a place in our application where students can do a supplemental, I guess, response or letter explaining their situation. And so since they would still be a junior, they would still be a junior, they're at the application, they would be eligible to apply, but what I would encourage them is to complete that additional supplemental space in the application to explain their situation.
And as a related question, to confirm, we're talking about juniors presently who are applying for the summer in between their junior and senior year. Is that correct?
That is correct. So they'll be participating as rising seniors. So as they complete the program, that you should be going into their senior year.
Gotcha.
But our requirements, you need to have at least 1 semester. So if they're a junior, kind of in that in between, they have 1 semester left, those students may still apply as well.
Okay. Kirsten was wondering how narratively interesting the employment and volunteer experience statements need to be. I love that terminology, by the way.
Yeah, you know, the narrative here we're paying attention to is that commitment to public service. And so we want to understand what our students engage in and what are they doing and why it's important. And so, you know, no matter what they're doing, because in your case, I don't know what the student is doing, but no matter what they're doing, if it connects to public service, I would say they need to have some emphasis on that in their response to the prompt. And if it's more about skills or outcomes for them as an individual as a result of, then maybe it's about that and then connecting that to how those skills are going to translate to work in public service. But here we're really looking for that narrative towards public service. But I also think that the skills developed that could lend themselves to being effective and doing meaningful work is also important. And so depending on the experience, you'll have to coach your student about how to craft that narrative.
And actually, do you have advice in that sense? A lot of students, particularly those with great financial need, don't necessarily have the opportunity to do a free internship on the Capitol Hill or in their state legislature or in their local community. How do you look at things like work experience in a retail setting or something like that as a gateway to public service?
You know, connecting the learning outcomes and telling as a result of those work experiences is very important, but also telling their own story around why they may not be able to engage in something like this, or some of those internships that you referenced, Carmen, because they have other commitments. I know that our admissions folks are very sensitive and aware of the challenges that students may face if they have their responsibilities and aren't able to volunteer time. And so I think students just need to tell their story and be very explicit about that. And then in the other prompts about, why public service, be very clear about the why, whether it's from a personal perspective, from an experiential perspective, from an academic perspective, from I want to solve these issues, or I care about these problems, that has to be woven into their narrative as well.
So perhaps a balance of their feelings and their specific experiences or things they've done.
Right.
I get a lot of essays all the time or conversations with students that are very much about their feelings, which is nice, but not always helpful in discerning in an application process like this.
I always tell students sustained and substantial. So, we all have lots of feelings, which are great, and you should have those feelings, but we need to see the demonstrated. And even when I interact with students at the public service weekends and in other spaces, I get that question quite a bit, and it's, we all feel passionate about a lot of different things, but how are you making those connections to those passions, and what are you doing, or how are you pursuing them, or even how are you studying them? So if you're unable to work, if you're using your academics as a platform and space to study and dig deeper into some of those issues that you care about, that's valid as well.
Do you have a sample application with instructions that advisors could see?
We do not provide a sample application. As you imagine, we get 600 and they all look different. I've read a lot of them, and so we want students to be, authentic and create a narrative that's unique to their experiences. And having you all wonderful advisors help coach and guide them through, how to present themselves is something that we advise students to tap into as a resource on their campuses. But we don't provide a hard example of responses to our prompts.
And for international students who may be interested, do they have to submit the same type of financial aid information, or is the application different for them somehow?
So the application is the same. International students will need to also complete that supplemental, that they have different financial information. If it's in English, in some cases it's not, we ask students to submit what they can, or if they can get something from their school that talks about their financial situation or gives us some information on their financial information. But there is a form on our application that asks students to fill in based on what they know. So we use that as a gauge as well. But they will need to submit something. And many times the school can help them figure out what that submission is for international students.
Do they have to be international students currently studying in the U.S., or can they be from anywhere?
They have to be currently studying in the United States and admitted to a U.S.-based institution.
Okay. And as a point of clarification, it looks like folks were actually looking for a blank example application rather than a pre-completed one with example answers. Is that something you have?
We don't have, but we'll do that. That's a great idea. We did not do that this year. that could be
Thanks,
helpful.
everybody. That's great. Well, we created more work for Simone. Woohoo! No.
That's a good addition, I think, because I've seen that in other fellowship sites. So we can do that and give us maybe 24 hours to make that available.
We also had a few questions about what might be open to current graduate students. Are things like the Expo or the public service weekends open for grad students?
So our Expo in DC is open to anyone essentially, if that's something that they feel would be meaningful for them. We usually publish a list of our exhibitors in late June, early July, and keep that list updated. The DC Expo is heavily grad school focused, so that's just a warning. If they're already enrolled in grad school, they may not find that part as meaningful, but there are a number of internships, fellowship programs that are also there as well, and that list grows every year. We've actually outgrown our space, so we're looking at potentially getting the space next to the ballroom at the Marvin Center. So I'm anticipating that next year we'll probably have a lot more internship programs and fellowship programs represented. Our public service weekends, they will take students who haven't been admitted to graduate school yet, because for them it's also a recruitment opportunity. So they're currently in grad school. The public service weekends may not be something they'll have access to, but if they are attending any of those institutions that are hosting, they could be involved in that way. We've had many of folks involved as current students sit on panels and just hang out, during the day with the students and network. So that's an option. Our website also has a nice student resource on there that will actually become even better as we should be launching our new website very soon. But essentially that has a resource of different internships, opportunities, fellowships that students may want to consider as they go through their graduate studies.
And as a cheap plug for us, APSIA also has an active jobs board that's free and open to the public with opportunities at all levels, undergrad, grad, PhD, and beyond. We also publish a lot of opportunities through our social media and have a filterable fellowships and scholarships directory where graduate students can look for opportunities just for them, undergraduates can look for opportunities for them, work, travel. So a lot of different options for students at a lot of different levels there too. Simone, one other question that I had was about how PPIA looks at the question of diversity. As the tagline on your presentation makes it clear, you're looking to train the next generation of diverse public service leaders. I know you shared some stats, but can you talk a little bit more about that so advisors have a sense of what kind of students to best steer in this direction?
Sure. We're looking at students broadly diverse, and broadly diverse meaning students from, maybe first generation students to go to college, LGBTQ students, students that identify coming from marginalized communities or communities that have historically been underrepresented in education, in public service, or in the public sector. So broadly defined in terms of diversity are the types of students that we're looking at. But in the application, it also asks for students to talk about their experiences with diverse communities. And so, that's a part of the narrative of the application is, many of them will come from the communities or how they define those communities, is being able to define those communities, but also talk about them in the application process of how they've either been a part of or have engaged with those communities.
Great. Other questions that we can answer for folks while we have Simone's great wisdom here?
I see something about, someone missed the part about institutes for graduate students, that we do not have an institute for graduate students, they're just for undergrads. I don't know if you already had referenced that, Carmen, or not.
Thanks, Simone.
Yeah.
One other question that I was curious while folks, I hope, are typing their questions, noting the nationwide coverage of APSIA alumni groups and current students, if folks wanted to bring a speaker to their campus or more information to their campus, is there an easy way for them to have those resources present in their office for students?
For our programs, one place is to make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter. If you're part of NAFA, you probably see emails from me already, or depending on the day, maybe too many. We also have brochures that we can mail out, so that's something you're interested in. We have a PDF of our one-page promotion for most activities, which is available electronically and something you could print off if needed. Those are really, the kind of tangible resources. Another resource that we help advisors identify is if you have a student on your campus who has completed, or an alumni of your institution that has participated in our fellowship program, they oftentimes will come and do a presentation, or be willing to do a presentation about their experience and walk through students through a very similar presentation about how to apply. And so I would say use them as a resource as well, because they can speak firsthand to the experience in the program and what they've been able to get out of it so far, and what they plan to do as a result of their participation. But they've been our alumni are a great resource. And if you feel like you may have an alum, maybe you don't have a connection to them, feel free to reach out to the national office, and I can try to bridge that connection for you.
Wonderful. So any other questions for folks that you'd like to know while we have this great information? As Simone said, the deadline is November 1st, so still a few weeks for students to refine those essays, start those essays, and get all their information together. And I hope you will also be sure to stay in touch with PPIA, so that if you aren't quite ready to engage students this year, we can have them involved in public service weekends and JSIs starting next year. I also hope that you'll stay in touch with APSIA, and if you'd like, we would be delighted to add you to our mailing list for advisors. We do a series of webinars throughout the year focused on advisor needs and hopefully helping you be better counselors to your students. Each month, we also have student-facing programs looking at best practices in applying to graduate school. And coming up in the next few weeks, we'll have an online graduate school fair so that students can get truly FaceTime virtually with schools from all over the world who specialize in international affairs and policy. And it's a great chance for them to really get their personal questions answered and start to build a relationship with the school and ask many of the same questions that we've posed to Simone today about how to be competitive, what kinds of narratives to include, what counts as work and interesting employment experience. So hopefully we'll be able to see your students at more of those kinds of activities. And we have a number of resources, as I said, that will hopefully make your job easier in telling the story about why public policy and international affairs is a wonderful field for your students to engage in. And you can be a part of such a great community like PPIA. All of the students I've met there have just been so smart and ambitious and thoughtful about their role in contributing to something bigger than themselves, that it's just a great atmosphere to be around, whether it's at the public service weekend or the expo or a JSI. So with that, any last minute, very fast typers who'd like to get questions in? Seeing none, but knowing that you have Simone's email here on the screen, as well as their website and their social media handles. Thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time, and we hope that you'll join us at future programs sponsored by APSIA, PPIA, or both.
Yeah. Thank you all again, and please feel free to connect if you have any other questions.
And of course, thanks most especially to Simone Bolo for all of her wisdom. I take Simone's fabulousness for granted sometimes because she makes it look so easy, but I really appreciate all of your time, Simone, and putting this together for us.
Thanks, Carmen. All right.
We have some Michigan fans.
I see. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.